What Candace Owens is doing is incredibly dangerous and honestly very disrespectful to Charlie Kirk's.
What you've shaped out to be so awesome, and it's such a cool perspective that people could come and learn from you. And also, I just felt from observing both of you guys that have different mindsets, you guys had a beautiful opportunity to share one platform with two different mindsets. She has her own views and I have my own views, but I'm not going to remove somebody from.
By March 2021, Candace Owens wasn't just blowing up, she was everywhere. Her name was on every conservative feed, every talk show, every headline. Then, boom, she made a power move that shocked even her biggest fans. She signed with the Daily Wire, locking in a deal that looked like it would turn her into the next media powerhouse. Her first episode dropped that same month, and for a moment, everything looked perfect. The chemistry, the audience buzz, the views, it was all clicking. For those who don't know, the Daily Wire is Ben Shapiro's empire, one of the loudest voices in conservative media. But here's where things got wild. Both Ben and Candace stood firm on the right, but their views weren't as aligned as people thought. Shapiro's brand has always been deeply pro-Israel, while Candace's perspective was about to take a turn that no one, not even Ben, saw coming. At first, Candace stayed on board with that pro-Israel stance, but slowly her tone started shifting. She began questioning Israel's moves, pointing fingers at its treatment of Gaza, and demanding accountability on the world stage. What started as soft disagreement turned into straight-up confrontation, and the sparks flew fast. Soon, she wasn't just questioning policies. She was calling out U.S. funding that backed Israel's actions. That wasn't a small move. That was a straight-up grenade. Fans watched in disbelief as Candace went from being the Daily Wire's golden girl to its biggest problem. The tension didn't stay behind closed doors either. The arguments between her and Shapiro spilled out online and the internet went crazy. And then came that tweet, the one that changed everything. Candace posted the Bible verse that had people's jaws dropping. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other. You cannot serve both God and money. That wasn't just scripture. That was shade, and everybody knew it. It hit different because her audience was mainly Christian conservatives. By dropping that verse, Candace was sending a coded message that she was serving God while hinting that Shapiro and the Jewish community were serving the dollar. That interpretation spread like wildfire. Suddenly, she looked like the fearless truth teller, while Ben was painted as the cold corporate villain. She was basically shouting, "I'll stand for God even if it costs me everything." And her supporters ate it up. But behind the scenes, the Daily Wire was boiling. Shapiro wasn't about to let that slide. His response came fast and sharp. "Candace, if you feel that taking money from the Daily Wire somehow comes between you and God, by all means quit." That wasn't a response. That was a full-blown challenge. But guess what? She didn't quit. She kept her foot on the gas, kept talking her talk, and the tension exploded into full-blown war behind the cameras. By March 2024, the standoff finally snapped. Candace Owens was fired, gone. Just like that, fans were stunned. A partnership that once looked untouchable had gone up in flames. The same platform that launched her was now cutting ties, and everyone online was watching every second of the fallout. Not long after, Ben Shapiro spoke out in an interview, breaking down what really happened. And he didn't hold back. He said the Daily Wire had always allowed space for different opinions, including Candace's shift away from their pro-Israel stance. But then he dropped the hammer. He made it clear that freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences when your views drag the whole brand into chaos. He basically said, if you join the Daily Wire as a pro-Israel voice and flip your stance, don't expect me to keep paying you. That's straight talk, no filter. He explained that he couldn't keep bankrolling someone who turned against everything his company represented, especially when it threatened his own standing in the community. That's when everyone realized this wasn't just a business fallout, it was personal. And it proved one thing: in the world of politics and power, loyalty lasts only until the next viral tweet. Ben Shapiro didn't sugarcoat it. He laid it out straight. He basically said, you can't walk into my house, flip my rules upside down, drag me through the mud, and still expect me to sign your check. That was his whole argument. In his eyes, that was just business. And that's why he pulled the plug on Candace. To him, it wasn't personal. It was about protecting the Daily Wire's brand and keeping his audience loyal. But to everyone watching, it looked like a full-on war. And the internet ate it up. The feud went nuclear. When Candace got fired, Ben said he saw it coming from a mile away. And some people even laughed at the drama. The headlines read like a warning to every conservative creator out there. Pick your lane or lose your paycheck. That's how serious it got. Honestly, I thought Candace was finished after that. Like, career over type of finished. She had angered one of the most powerful voices in right-wing media, and the Jewish community completely distanced themselves from her. History showed that once a black conservative loses that support system, it usually means permanent exile. But man, Candace proved everybody wrong. Fast forward just a few months to June 2024, and she came blazing back with her own independent podcast. And not just any comeback. It was a smash hit from day one. She didn't just survive, she dominated. Her show skyrocketed to the #2 most streamed new podcast in the country that year. That's wild. She flipped her downfall into a redemption arc, branding herself as the free voice of truth for Christians and moderates who felt shut out by mainstream conservative media. The craziest part, her independence actually made her more popular. She became the symbol for anyone who felt scared to criticize Israel publicly. The one who said what others whispered about behind closed doors. Candace was now the rebel voice, fearless, loud, and unstoppable. And that image made her go viral again and again. Her following exploded. More fans, more headlines, more enemies. Former allies started turning their backs, calling her unpredictable and dangerous. But that only fueled her fire. She was hotter than ever. And even people who couldn't stand her name had to admit, Candace was a force. Then came the shocker. Nick Fuentes wanted in. The controversial right-wing figure was suddenly chasing clout off her new success, publicly begging for a spot on her podcast. And here's the wild part. She actually let him on. That move told the world everything about her influence. She was calling her own shots. No gatekeepers, no bosses. Think about it. This woman had publicly questioned Trump, clashed with Jewish leaders, took heat from both sides of the political spectrum, and she was still trending every week. As a black conservative woman in a space that rarely forgives, she didn't just survive the fire, she walked through it and came out shining. Her podcast is now one of the top viewed shows in the entire conservative scene, a platform even her critics can't ignore. But just when it seemed like she was untouchable, Charlie Kirk's death flipped the script again. Candace knew him personally, and at first fans expected heartfelt tributes, but what they got was something very different. Suddenly, she was talking about Charlie in almost every episode, linking his name to her commentary, her faith, and her truth movement. Critics started accusing her of milking his death for clicks and cash. They said she was turning grief into a business strategy, using tragedy to boost her brand, and that hit hard with people who once supported her. The whispers got louder. Was Candace honoring a friend or exploiting his memory for attention? Whatever the truth is, one thing's for sure. Every move she makes keeps her at the center of the storm, and she seems to love every second of it. Then came a post that rocked the whole situation. Pastor Rob McCoy, Charlie Kirk's own pastor, finally broke his silence. His Instagram message hit like a thunderclap. He wrote, "Charlie Kirk was my friend and I was his pastor." I want to simply say this regarding Candace Owens. Charlie Kirk was a friend to Candace and never spoke poorly of her. Though he disagreed with her, he never operated nor entertained gossip nor innuendo concerning Candace. My only comment I offer regarding Candace is this. I only wish at this tragic time of mourning she would be the friend of Charlie that he was to her. That message didn't just mourn Charlie. It called Candace out in the most respectful but cutting way possible. It was like saying, "Girl, where's your loyalty?" And the internet caught that tone instantly. What had started as political tension now turned heartbreakingly personal. Pastor Rob didn't mince words after that either. He doubled down, saying Charlie would never have treated Candace the way she's been acting lately. Then, to drive the point home, he dropped a scripture that spoke volumes. Proverbs 17:17, "A friend loves at all times." That hit hard. It painted the picture crystal clear. Candace wasn't honoring Charlie's memory, she was spinning it for her own spotlight. And once that post went viral, the floodgates opened. Critics came rushing in saying she was being selfish and disrespectful, using a friend's death for attention, clout, and clicks. They accused her of turning grief into content while Charlie's wife and family were still mourning in silence. It was brutal. People who once defended her were now backing away fast. But the backlash didn't stop there, not even close. Next up, Patrick Bet-David, one of the biggest conservative media moguls, stepped into the ring with some serious warnings. He acknowledged her insane numbers, 400,000 live viewers at a time, millions of daily views across all platforms, stats that most major TV shows wish they had. But instead of celebrating her success, Patrick was worried. He warned her that massive influence like that can be dangerous when it's used recklessly. He basically said, just because everyone's watching doesn't mean you're right. He called her out for making wild claims, defending people without evidence, throwing out conspiracy theories, and attacking entire nations with zero proof. Sure, it was driving clicks, but Patrick made it clear that those moves were killing her credibility in the long run. And now, the same powerful Jewish voices who once tolerated her antics were turning against her, accusing her of purposely stirring division and dragging serious topics into the drama spotlight for entertainment. By this point, Candace wasn't just controversial, she was radioactive. She had turned Charlie Kirk's passing into a social media lightning storm, and the noise was only getting louder. But just when it seemed like the situation couldn't get messier, actor and comedian Michael Rappaport jumped in, and things went from heated to explosive. This part shocked everyone because Rappaport, who's married to a black woman, went all in on Candace Owens. He didn't hold back. He went off on her online, calling her names and blasting her in ways rarely seen from someone with his Hollywood status. And that's what made it wild. It wasn't just another political clapback. It was a full-on cultural collision. Rappaport has always been known for being loud, brash, and unapologetic. But this time, he was furious. He unleashed a tirade that had people saying he was crashing out, putting his entire image on the line just to drag Candace publicly. By now, the story wasn't just about politics, loyalty, or media influence anymore. It had become a battlefield of faith, race, and reputation, all tangled together in one chaotic storm. There's a reason behind all that outrage, and it's not random. Candace Owens has proven one thing over and over again. You can't cancel her. Getting dropped from the Daily Wire should have ended her run, but instead it turned her into a megastar. She flipped what looked like a career death sentence into her ultimate comeback story. That move made her unstoppable, and her critics can't stand it. Every time people try to bury her, she comes back louder, sharper, and even more fearless. And here's the wild part. While the Daily Wire leans heavily on Jewish leadership and influence, Candace pulled off a power shift. She tapped into something way bigger, the Christian conservative base. That's the heart of her audience, and she owns it like no one else. On X, YouTube, and everywhere else, she's one of the most dominant right-wing figures alive. That level of control doesn't just irritate her enemies, it flat out enrages them. Michael Rappaport saw that dominance up close, and that's exactly why he went nuclear on her. And honestly, it explains why someone like Brandon Tatum plays it safe when it comes to Candace. He won't touch her stance on Israel, well, not even with a 10-foot pole. Because let's be real, Tatum's influence doesn't come close to hers, and if he ever tried to go against her publicly, it could wreck his career before it even had a chance to survive. That's how powerful Candace is right now. She's a walking brand, a lightning rod, and a threat all at once. What Candace Owens is doing in this moment is wild. She's breaking every rule the political world thought it had. Despite her history of throwing shots at the black community, despite being married to a white man, and despite calling out Israel in ways that most conservatives would never dare, she's still got an army of supporters standing behind her. Not just quiet fans either. Influential men who are willing to go public and defend her, even when it means putting their reputations on the line. Some of these guys have even started calling her a black queen. And that's what had everyone online scratching their heads like, wait, what? How can someone who's been so harsh toward her own people suddenly get that title? Yet somehow she's got these voices hyping her up, saying she's just speaking truth in a world too scared to hear it. Whether you love her or can't stand her, one thing's undeniable. She's rewriting the rules of loyalty, and people are choosing sides like never before. And this right here is what has Israel scrambling. They can't silence her, then worse, they can't stop the support she's building from corners no one expected. This stopped being about politics a long time ago. It's about power, who controls the conversation and who refuses to bow down. Candace Owens, along with other big names like Tucker Carlson, have managed to put Israel's leadership on defense, something that hasn't happened in decades. Suddenly, major figures like Benjamin Netanyahu are being dragged into uncomfortable debates, forced to confront questions they used to easily dodge. Back in the day, the right-wing support for Israel was automatic. No hesitation, no debate. But now, that once solid wall of unity is cracking right down the middle. Things have gotten so wild that Netanyahu himself has started showing up in places nobody expected, popping up on YouTube shows, giving direct statements to online creators, even dipping into platforms like TikTok. Behind the scenes, there's talk of Israel paying influencers, running quiet PR campaigns, and trying to regain control of the narrative before it slips away completely. And the reason is simple. Voices like Candace Owens are shaking the system. Her reach, her defiance, her refusal to back down, it's got entire governments on edge. They can't buy her silence, they can't censor her, and every attempt to do so just blows up in their faces, because here's the twist no one saw coming. The more they try to shut her down, the more powerful she gets. She's louder, bolder, and more influential than ever. Every platform that blocks her message only ends up amplifying it somewhere else. Every time she's canceled, she comes back trending. Candace has turned resistance into fuel, and right now her fire's burning hotter than ever. Fast forward to right now, and the proof's impossible to ignore. Candace Owens isn't just surviving, she's flipping the whole game upside down. She's not just part of the conversation anymore. She is the conversation. Every headline, every debate, every post, her name keeps popping up and the spotlight just won't leave her. And if you want proof of how wild this digital era's gotten, look at Nick Fuentes. He got erased from YouTube, banned off nearly every platform, and written off as done forever. But guess what? He's thriving again on Rumble. By September 9th, 2025, even the New York Times had to cover him, putting his name right back in the headlines. Loud, messy, and impossible to avoid. Like him or not, Fuentes has become a massive white nationalist headache for the right. And instead of disappearing, he's doubling down and cashing in. He's stacking money from streams, building a cult-like fan base on Rumble, and proving one ugly truth. You can't cancel influence, you can only relocate it. The moment you ban someone, their supporters just move with them to the next platform. And that right there is the biggest warning sign for Candace Owens. Because if YouTube, Instagram, or any other platform ever tries to silence her, she'll just pack up and move to Rumble too. And her millions of followers will follow her instantly. That wouldn't end her career. It'd make her bigger. And here's where things get really crazy. This new wave of creators like Candace and Nick are showing something historic. They don't even need mainstream media anymore. They've built their own empires, with loyal audiences and their own ecosystems. They're changing conversations across politics, religion, and even global conflict, all from their own platforms. That kind of power was unthinkable just a few years ago. And now Candace Owens is leading the charge. Every single time someone tries to cancel her, it just proves her point. She's uncancelable. From the Daily Wire fallout to her battles with Ben Shapiro, to critics from Hollywood and even political leaders, she keeps walking through the fire untouched. Think about it. Nick Fuentes couldn't take her down. Michael Rappaport couldn't embarrass her. Netanyahu can't silence her. And conservative voices like Brandon Tatum, they're too afraid to even challenge her. Whether you agree with her or not, Candace Owens has turned herself into one of the most powerful and most untouchable figures on the right today. She's rewriting the rule book, breaking every boundary, and standing firm in spaces most people wouldn't dare to step into. And with every controversy, her name only gets louder. So what do you think? Is Candace Owens truly unstoppable, or is her crash still coming? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and share this video with your crew, because the next one's about to get even wilder. See you on the next one.